Hello and welcome to Play PKN, the weekly video bulletin of the top news stories on PKN Packaging News, Australia's media hub for the packaging industry. I'm PKN's publisher, Lindy Hewson, and this week's bulletin is brought to you by Ball & Doggett, Australia's largest distributor of printable materials and consumables. Well, what a week it's been. The biggest story in the news cycle for well over a week now, and one that has lit up social media, has been the announcement of the suspension of soft plastics recycling program REDcycle, which has collection stations in Coles and Woolworths nationwide, among other places. It's been suspended due to a lack of sufficient recycling capacity at the moment. In the wake of this news, the packaging industry has been highly vocal in its support for founder Liz Cassell and REDcycle as stakeholders work to find solutions to the crisis. In our interview with Liz, she made it clear that the suspension was not a failing on the part of REDcycle, and the stockpiling was not a secret cover-up. The decision to hold soft plastic in storage, which was undertaken at considerable expense to REDcycle, was not for commercial gain, but instead was a stopgap until the soft plastic recycling industry is operational again. REDcycle's biggest user, Close the Loop, had a fire at its recycling facility earlier this year and will only be back on stream in July next year, albeit with 3 times the capacity. Now, Cassell said the huge amount of support REDcycle has received shows just how important REDcycle is to Australians, but stressed that along with support, action is needed to get the whole value chain working together. PKN completely concurs with that. In our interview, she discussed short-term solutions for the current REDcycle stockpile, emphasized the need to accelerate downstream processing technologies, confirmed her partnership with industry organizations and discussions with supermarket and brand partners, as well as liaisons with government to seek support. For the full report, along with comments from key industry players, including Nestlé, Amcor, local recyclers and global recycling expert Ed Cozier on the subject, head to our website, packagingnews.com.au. It's the lead story at the moment. Further news on recycling. Coinciding with National Recycling Week last week, the first in a series of trials of curbside collection of soft plastic packaging has begun in Victoria's Macedon Ranges Shire Council, making recycling of soft plastics like bread bags and cereal pouches easy for participating households. Plastics from this trial will be taken for advanced recycling to APR plastics in Dandenong, Victoria, where the material will be converted into oil to make new plastics ultimately. The trials are part of the National Plastics Recycling Scheme project, which is led by the Australian Food and Grocery Council, the AFGC, and this will help design a model for large-scale bag-in-bin curbside collection and sorting of soft plastic packaging for advanced recycling. We've also featured a lot of news on sustainability this week, starting with family-run Little Big Dairy, which is on track to be Australia's first commercial circular dairy brand, with its latest packaging choice to use clear instead of coloured milk closures, keeping with broader sustainability shifts within the business. The dairy is working closely with bottle supplier Pact Group, which is also increasing its capacity to supply recycled HDPE bottles, so RHDPE, through its new milk bottle recycling plant. Pact supplies the clear HDPE closures. The milk packaging is labelled with the Australasian recycling label to ensure consumers know the cap can also be recycled along with the bottle. Then the announcement by Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek that Australia will join the High Ambition Coalition to end plastic pollution by 2040 has been seen by the World Wildlife Fund for Nature Australia as a breakthrough. While United Nations members agreed to start negotiations for a legally binding treaty back in March, the scope of the agreement and what it will cover is still up for debate. Tanya Plibersek says, though, that this is a signal that Australia is prepared to be held accountable when it comes to its plastics waste. The treaty has the potential to create global rules and obligations for the full life cycle of plastic, setting standards for reducing plastic production, consumption and pollution. The full content of the treaty is expected to be agreed by UN members by the end of 2024. And then in some other news, Victoria University researchers are working on a sustainable packaging solutions project funded by the Victorian government, developing prototypes of compostable plastic packaging made from vegetable waste, which, with the right investment, could provide a future circular solution. Now, polymer expert Dr. Marlene Cran and her team have been experimenting with the unusable produce provided by a Werribee South market farm. The team's goal is to use minimal interventions such as intensive drying or the use of excessive additives so that the processes are as natural and inexpensive as possible and easier to scale up in the future. Well, that's a lot of big news, and that's a wrap from us this week. For these and other stories, including our coverage of our live event last week and our Women in Packaging event, head to the website packagingnews.com.au. Thanks again for watching.